Hello, everyone. This is Arnie Ken with Vertical Measures. I want to thank you for joining us for our webinar this morning. We're going to get things kicked off here in just a minute. The person who's going to be actually doing our presentation for us today is Ralph Miller. He's one of our Internet marketing specialists, and he's put together this great webinar on creating a corporate blog that attracts visitors. And at this point, we'll get started. I'm going to turn the controls over to Ralph, and oh, by the way, I do want to remember to mention the presentation is scheduled to last about 45 minutes. And then if you do have any questions, you can enter them in the webinar tab, and we'll address those at the end. Thanks very much, and I'm going to turn it over to Ralph.
Hi, everybody. This is Ralph Miller from Vertical Measures. And today we're talking about creating a corporate blog that attracts visitors. What I put down was just a quote here from Jeremy Wright. Basically, a bad blog is worse than no blog. And I'm sure that many of you have seen plenty of bad blogs out there, as well as dead blogs. Really, if you go to a blog and it's not active, really tells you a lot about a company and kind of gives you a negative feeling towards them. And so what you really want to go for is an engaging blog, because engaging blog is one of the best things in the world that you can do for your business. And we've certainly seen that with our own personal blog. And if you've been to any of the good blogs out there, then you know that really can help to improve the perception of your company and of your business. So one of the first big questions is, really, are you ready for a blog? And I think this is an important question to ask because it is a fairly large investment of time and money. There's a lot that goes into successfully engaging an audience, and it's more than just putting up a blog, because nowadays with all the open source software out there, I could put up a blog in 5 minutes, but that doesn't mean that necessarily I should, because if I'm not willing to devote the time and the money that's necessary to make it work, to make it engaging and successful, that when people come there they see new information on a continual basis, then it might be something I might not want to do. Things you might want to consider, custom design. If you have a website now, really matching that design to your current website. You need to spend time generating ideas for content. So oftentimes we keep a running list of all the ideas that we could possibly write about. You have to write and manage the content. It might include editing. Commenting on other blogs is a big part of it, because of course, if you put up a blog, it's kind of in a vacuum, and you want to be able to go out onto the internet, find other blogs, connect with them, and really become a part of the community. And so that's a time investment too, which we're continually working on and continually engaging with other bloggers. And then of course moderation, which is a fairly large concern. I know several websites that have really had to look at their moderation model, because if it gets so popular, you can get to the point where you're spending an hour or two a day just moderating comments. And you will get spam on your blogs, and we'll talk about that and how to manage that and deal with that. So two of the questions that I'd like you to ask yourself as we go through all of these things is just what makes sense for you to do yourself. What do you think are you able to actually dedicate yourself to, dedicate your company to, and then also keep in mind what makes sense to outsource. Because even if you're not willing in terms of time to do a lot of these things, there's a lot of opportunities to be able to outsource a lot of these tasks to other people, to other companies, and that can help you to move forward in your blogging experience. So why a corporate blog? One of the most powerful traffic generating sources for our company has been a corporate blog. And it's driven, you can see these are our analytics, and it shows the page views for each of the URLs. And we've gotten an increase of 24% page views coming from just our blog posts, which is about 2,000 page views per month. And that's only doing 2 posts per week, and just really gives us a vehicle to talk to potential clients as well as other people in our field. gives us lots of opportunities to increase inbound links to our website, because what ends up happening, you'll see in a lot of our blogs that people will comment on our blogs, and then on top of that, people will also write an article, and in an article they will then link to blog content that they have found interesting or noteworthy or important. And then you'll actually get to see, when you're running your blog, all the times that people link to it. And that's just generating, in terms of more traffic, but also PR for your site, if that's important to you, as well as just getting you out there on the web. There's a lot of notoriety that comes with that, and really positioning yourself as an expert when other people are talking about you. When you set up your blog, I think that branding is really an important part of it, and to do that, there's some steps that you can take to make sure that you brand it right from the beginning. And so on your current URL is really important. If you have a URL for your company, you should put the blog on that. And there's lots of, I'm sure you've seen them, I've seen them out there, separate URLs for the blog. And what that really does is it just splits your company in two, in terms of the website, in terms of the traffic. Having it on your current URL allows you to use the navigation tabs at the top that you use for your entire site, so that people can get to your services if they want to check out what you do. And self-hosted, I think, is important too. There's a lot of, you'll see, they're popping up all the time, these social network groups and different websites that will allow you to host a blog on their account. I don't really recommend that. It's good for some people, but not for a corporation, not for a business. You want it to match your current website design, and you really want a seamless transition. So when you're on our blog, you should feel like you're on our site, and that's the effect that we want for our visitors to have, is that when they are on our blog, they don't feel like they're somewhere else. They know that they're there. With Vertical Measures, our logo is prominent, and then all of our navigation tabs, so that they can get around on our site, they can check out our services. And then blogging software choices, fairly important. It depends on what your website is currently programmed in, and so that's something you might have to talk to your webmasters about. But really you're looking at using a software program, if you're going to use an open source one, which I will talk about next, but in the same programming language, preferably either PHP, MySQL, Ruby on Rails. There are others that you might consider. And so that'll kind of affect your choice in terms of what you choose to utilize as a blogging platform. And these are some of the blogging platforms that are available. We use WordPress, and I put that one at the top because I'm kind of biased, but WordPress is really, it has such a large user community base and support that it's, to me, in my eyes, it's really the premier blogging platform. I did include some others. I haven't used those so much, so I wouldn't consider myself an expert on those, but there's certainly ones that you can look into and investigate if you're considering using a different blogging platform. If you're already using something like Joomla for your website, it's a pretty popular platform, then there's no reason for you to use WordPress because Joomla has a built-in blogging system. But in terms of WordPress, what you'll see when you check out the site is that there's a lot of plugins, and what plugins essentially do is allow you to extend the functionality. They're pieces of code that people have written, they've put in, and then basically you just plug it in and it works on your website. So if you want to add a calendar, if you want to add a contact form, anything that you want to utilize is pretty much already done. And I haven't really come across a lot of instances where there was something I wanted for my blog that wasn't already done and wasn't already fully supported by someone in the community. WordPress blogs are also fairly SEO friendly, so there's very little that you have to do in terms of establishing the SEO best practices for your blog, because there's a lot of plugins that will allow you to do that pretty naturally. And if any of you have questions specifically about a blogging platform, you can certainly let me know, and I can either research it for you or let you know what might be the best choice for your particular website. So next, we'll talk about writing posts for your blog. One of the big things I think you have to answer is who's going to write the post. So you have to really think about your business strategy and how you want to kind of make your appearance in terms of the voice. And so it could be a single person blogging, could be an employee, could be ghostwriters that you hire, could be the CEO himself blogging. It depends on what kind of persona you want, and you might consider having multiple people blog. On our particular blog, we have multiple employees blogging about various issues, and we kind of take, I think, the expert route, which is we have a social media expert, we have a link building expert, we have all the different areas of our business that we have people blogging about. And so when you come to our blog, you start to see different voices coming out depending on the topic that's being discussed. Next thing you might think about is how often they post. And so I just put this down here. Dell posts 2 times a day, and they're really looked at as one of the premier corporate blogs. They have a lot to talk about, and I'm sure that there's a lot of time that goes into that. However, we post 2 times a week, and that's a fair time investment if you figure, maybe an hour for research and an hour for posting the blog, or for writing the blog. So it's about 2 hours a week, plus any editing that goes into it. We do have an editor here that looks over each of the posts before they get published to make sure that there's no, silly errors. And then you just have to look at what's doable for your business. So whatever you're going to choose, if it's going to be once a day, if it's going to be once a week, you really want to make it consistent, because if it's not consistent, what ends up happening is people stop coming back because they see that there hasn't been a post for a month, or they get there and it's erratic when you're posting, and so if they subscribe to your RSS feed, they'll end up dropping you because they haven't seen it for a while, or because they get a bunch of posts real fast and then none for a while. So I think the most important part is consistency and setting a schedule for yourself. I mean, for us in our blog, it's part of our task, it's part of our workload. And so, there's constantly an evaluation of, is this done? If it's not done, who's doing it? That type of thing. So just make it consistent. And then in terms of what you're going to post, I think that the most important part is really being non-promotional. Really, if you see a lot of blogs that are overly promotional, you really start to understand that you don't want to be there. And I think a lot of people, it's a very sensitive issue these days, and it's a fine line to walk, because of course, we're blogging, we're in business. We want to be able to promote our products and services, but we don't want it to be overly promotional. We don't want every blog post to be a sales letter. And I think that's really super relevant and super important, because you'll see one of the worst things that corporate blogs do is that it's all about them and it's all about what they're doing, and you don't want to do that. It's a big turnoff to a lot of potential customers, and you get a lot of negative press about it. So along those lines, you want it to be about the news in your industry, and you also want to try to be the person that's reporting it first. And so you'll see like SEO Moz, who's a big player in our industry. They're constantly doing new types of information that you're not going to find anywhere else. So they'll do polls, they'll do studies, they'll show graphs, all sorts of different things. So you want some sort of angle in terms of the news that you can be not just reporting on, but actually like creating. And that's very difficult to do, and it takes, again, a lot of time. So keep that in mind when you're thinking about what you're going to blog about. You want to link out to other people, to other blogs, possibly even your competitors. And I know that's, you know, that could be controversial. There's a lot of discussion about that in our circles about linking out to other people and what to do and what not to do. But the take that I have on it is that if you think that your clients and your customers aren't already doing that, if you think that they're not visiting your competitors' websites, if you think that they're not already making comparisons between your product and service and the product and service of your competitors, then I would say that you're mistaken, because everyone is doing that. I know because I'm doing it. I know because my friends are doing it. I know because of my parents. You know, that's everyone is researching. They're using the web, and it's not a vacuum. So trying to keep them just on your site and trying to limit the amount of information that they have is really futile. There's really no reason not to link out to other people, because people are going to go to Google and do it anyway. So what you're doing is just saving them from having to leave your site, providing valuable information for them in the interim. Again, what not to post: only self-promotional items. Really, white papers I would avoid, press releases I would avoid, and too much personal information. You want it to be somewhat personal, but not too much, and that's, again, it's a fine line. So, you know, you'll probably see on Arnie has a couple times written about his hiking experiences and things like that, and so you can make it a little personal, but you don't want to make it all about your life. And then a really big one is keyword cannibalization, and this is a big one for our industry, because we're of course concerned with keywords and SEO and link building. When you're looking at your website versus your blog, and you're looking at the keywords that I really consider commercial, it's very important that you don't duplicate those commercial keywords on your blog. And so, for instance, link building services might be one of our keywords that we utilize for commercial purposes on our website. We're not going to target a specific blog post about link building services. What we're going to do is we're going to write an article that might be related to link building, and we're going to link back. It's called internal linking. So within that article, we're going to link to our link building services page. And that's a really vital thing to do. It's because what you don't want to do is have a commercial page for your services that's ranking really well, and then all of a sudden you do your blog and you start writing about the same services, and then your blog ends up ranking higher than your regular marketing page. And of course, perhaps your blog isn't necessarily, you know, set up for conversions as well as your regular website service page is. And so now all of a sudden you have this problem where your blog is overridden your service pages. So that's really something that you're going to want to consider and really pay attention to: what keywords you're using, what phrases you're using when you do your blog. And of course, the last one there, linking to commercial pages from your blog. So again, just internal linking. If you use a keyword, you're going to want to go and link to that particular page on your website for whatever your services are. So the next question is are you going to edit? And if you choose to edit, it's really, it's going to take some time, and you're going to have to assign it to someone. So again, just something you want to think about in terms of time and dedication. When I did this research, I looked at several blogs, and each of them had kind of a different take on it. And so it also goes back to your corporate culture and what you're feeling in terms of how you want to run things. Certainly there's something to be said about giving your bloggers complete control over what's being said, because any time that you're stepping in and editing, there's an opportunity, I think, to stifle what's being said. And that could really damage you in terms of your credibility with other bloggers with the blogosphere in general. I think that you'll see this time and time again and coming up in news issues where people are very sensitive these days to what's being said and what's trying to be controlled. And if you try to control information too much, or you try to put too much of a spin on it, people will call you on it. And they know because they're visiting other blogs and they're listening to what other people are saying. And in today's internet, you really cannot control what's being said. And so it's very important that if you are editing, that you're not stifling it too much or making it too much of a spin on it in terms of what it is that you're trying to portray for your company. And then in terms of who will publish, just keeping in mind again the time for formatting, keywords, and SEO. Each time that we publish a blog on our blog, it's there's pictures that go into it, and you have to format those. You have to make sure that they're aligned correctly. You have to enter in the keywords that you want in terms of the title, the description, the metadata. All of those things are fairly specific. It doesn't take a lot of time, but you do want to be able to train people on it and how to do it correctly and how to make it consistent so that it looks good on your blog. So that's just something else to consider in terms of when you're organizing. If you've got a bunch of people that are blogging, are you going to have just one person responsible for posting? It might be more time efficient than having to train 10 people in how to do it. Looks like my slide is sticking there, so just give us just a minute. So ideas for content. I think that content, of course, everyone says content is king, and it's true to a certain extent. Looking at the type of content that you want to produce for your blog is probably one of the most important things. And we have, in terms of the time that we spend on each article, of course, we're spending time actually researching and actually writing the post. But a lot of it, too, is just being involved with the industry, and we're constantly reading articles, we're constantly participating with other people in our industry. And all of those things kind of will start to give you ideas for articles. I know for me, writing articles, I'm always thinking about the article in the back of my mind, and so when something comes up, I think, oh, that'd be a great idea for an article, and we add it to our list. The ideas that you could use, upcoming events, webinars, seminars, anything that you're doing or is being put on in your industry, great things to talk about. Products or services that are coming up that you're releasing, it's fine to post about those. Any type of industry news, anything that's going on in other areas of your industry, great to talk about. If you can put your own spin on it or be a little controversial by refuting it or whatever the take is, that could be good. Other related products, services, businesses in your industry. Like I said, it's okay to talk about those things to a limited extent. I mean, you don't have to pat your competitor on the back, but it might certainly be relevant for you to talk about it, something else that somebody's coming out with. And again, just keep in mind that people are already going to find it. They're going to look for it. It's just because you're not talking about it doesn't mean that you're shielding your clients or potential customers from knowing about it, because information travels so quickly that they're going to know about it anyway. So it actually, I feel it really helps you to talk about those things. studies you produce, insights you have, educational information is great. We work with various clients, and sometimes we'll go with the educational route. How-tos. You can set up entire video series on those, posting them to YouTube, embedding the YouTube into your blog, and then you've got a lot of great content that people are coming back to again and again as references. So those are all possibilities. And then, of course, I had to include lists because if you've been out on the web, you've seen lists are super popular. We've got ours, top 10 links you can get right now, 10 more links you can get right now. All those types of things seem to have a really big pull in the search engines. And so while they can be very general and not super relevant sometimes, they do tend to rank very well. And so if you're trying to go after a specific keyword, sometimes a list is a great way to do that. Another great opportunity for content is just participation in the blogosphere. And I think that this is absolutely imperative for any blog to do if they want to be successful, because there's nothing worse than coming to a blog that has no comments on any of the articles, because you just get a feeling, in a sense, that no one cares, and so you kind of think, well, why should I care? And this is the way to prevent that from happening. This is a really great way to make sure that your blog is active, to make sure that it's relevant, and to make sure that you're participating in a conversation, because that's really one of the primary things that I would hope to convey to you, is that your blog is not just a one-way channel. We're moving into really this territory where everything on the web is meant to be a conversation. And we talk about real-time search. We just did an article on real-time search that we published on our blog today. And it's this idea that the conversation on the web is happening so fast with Twitter and all these other social media technologies. You really want to be listening to what's being said in your industry, what people are saying about the products and services that they're using, and extrapolating how that relates to you. And these are just some of the ways to do that. So, Google alerts for your company name, Google alerts for your competitors' names, Google alerts for any of the major keywords that you're trying to focus on. Very, very great way to keep your ear to the blogosphere. Same with like Technorati, great opportunity to look up other blogs. So with Technorati, you can do a keyword search to find specific blogs that are related to topics that you're looking for, and then go and participate in those. And when I say participate, I don't mean self-promotion. So what I'm talking about is just commenting. And so when somebody writes a blog post and you're reading it, you don't even necessarily need to include any information about your products or your services, or make a pitch for something that you're selling. All you have to do is relate to what they wrote about and give an opinion, make a statement, contribute to the conversation in a relevant way. And that alone, if you start to do that on other people's blogs, you'll not only start to get backlinks, even though they're no follow for many blogs, the actual anchor text and the citation that you're getting from being connected to that blog does have a positive influence on your rankings and your site traffic. Because what will end up happening is people read a blog, and then they come down and they read the comments, they see your comment, and they see that it's actually something that's very relevant to them, and it's helpful to them in some way. So they'll click through and look at your business, and then it's they're already kind of, in a sense, pre-sold to looking at your products or services, because they've already read you on several other blogs, and what you've said has really connected with them. It's made sense to them on some level, and so they're already pre-sold toward you and your services. Backtype is another great one there. Just again, real-time search, so it allows you to type in a keyword, and then you can see what people are talking about, like right this very instant in terms of Twitter, as well as what articles have been published. You can see on the page what's being said, and you can also see how many comments there are. And so you can just go in there and start to participate, again, without being promotional in any way. And that commenting on other articles is really what helps to propel your blog to the next level, because otherwise it's just sitting out there and you're kind of waiting for people to come to you. This way, what you do is you engage other people. You start to comment on their blogs, and you'll start to see them coming back and commenting on your blog as well. If you haven't set up a Gravatar, highly suggest that. Gravatar is being used on more and more blogs. It's kind of built into WordPress. You just go to Gravatar and set up a picture. You just upload a picture of yourself. And then any time that you go to a website that's utilizing Gravatar, it'll automatically post your picture along with your comment. And that's a great way to brand yourself. Make sure that you're using the same picture on every single blog that you're commenting on. Next thing we'll talk about is just comment and moderation policy. And this, I think, is really important in terms of, again, allowing the conversation to happen. And so you really want to develop your comment and moderation policy early on, before you have any issues. Because if you do it after the fact, you don't want any inconsistencies, because, again, people will call you on it, and it will give you give bloggers a negative impression of you. And so you have to ask yourself, like right off from the start, are we going to allow positive and negative comments? Because you will get people that criticize you. You will get people that try to call you out on things on your blog. And so are you going to allow that? And my personal opinion is that you should, and handle it by actually responding to those comments. And it's even better if you can have your, if you've got a client base that'll respond to them for you. I've seen several actual examples of this where the company didn't even have to actually respond to the negative comments because other people did it for them, and that's even better if you can do that. But if you think, again, that people aren't going to put those negative comments somewhere else, I mean, I would really question that, because if those comments are out there, hey, better that it's on your site, that it's under your control, and that you can kind of guide and direct the conversation, as opposed to having it somewhere else where you're not even participating and people are just reading and spewing stuff about you or your company. So, but you want to think about it and decide what's going to be right for you. Most corporate blogs have a no spam and no offensive language policy, and that's I think those are fairly good ones. In terms of editing or moderating. So if you don't have to delete the entire comment, you can just remove the offensive language. And that's an ability that most blogs have, is that you can actually edit what's being said. Other considerations are follow, no follow comments. And so that's in terms of the link that's being portrayed from your commenter. Whenever somebody leaves a comment on a blog, generally it'll ask for your name, your email, and the website URL. And so if they use that URL, then their name actually becomes a link to their website. Most of the time those are no-follow. No-follow is really becoming less and less relevant. Like I said, no-follow actually still has a lot of weight in terms of your search engine ranking and your. I don't particularly get hung up on that when I'm making comments for our blog, but because it's so prominent, because a lot of people want follow links, because that's kind of the mentality right now in the industry, is that follow is better than no follow, that you could create all of your links on your comments to be follow. And if you did that, you would certainly get a larger percentage of people commenting on your blog, because people will come there specifically looking to comment for that follow link. So it's a great way initially to start to increase the activity on your blog. What I found in most cases is that eventually that can become an issue, because consequently you end up getting more spam, and so it becomes an issue of moderation. Some people hold comments for moderation before publishing. That's something that we do on our blog, you have to have a comment already, and then once you've commented, then kind of opens it up for you to comment. But that allows us to kind of catch it before it comes out onto the site. And we also use a spam filter called a Kismet, and that is built into WordPress. It's a really great spam filter, and I highly recommend it. You can actually utilize it for other sites other than WordPress, but it's put out by the same guys that do WordPress. And essentially what it does is it catches the spam before it even hits your site. Next thing I wanted to talk about was social media, and I think that this is really the other half of blogging, because blogging was really kind of the original social media, but social media nowadays has extended so far that to not use it as a publishing platform, it just doesn't make sense. Our social media accounts bring in double the traffic that we get from pay-per-click. And so there's no reason for you, if you're going to take the time to do your blog, you want to be publishing it to other sources. And so those might include places like Twitter. If you're using WordPress, there's extensions, there's tools that are free to use. WordPress itself is also free. It's an open source program that will essentially allow you to post your blog post to Twitter without you actually having to go in and post to Twitter. It's all automated. Every time that we post a new blog post, it automatically gets posted to our WordPress or to our Twitter account. You can do the same thing with Facebook via RSS. RSS is really a very powerful tool for you to propagate your blog in other places. And so if you look at our Facebook page, you can see that we've got an RSS feed on there that pulls in the articles. Hootsuite is another one for Twitter. If you're not using Hootsuite, you could check that out. They've got an RSS feed tool as well. Basically allows you to put in your feed URL, and then it's just all automated. Every time you publish something, it automatically publishes it to Twitter. YouTube, if you're using videos, you can post your videos to YouTube and then embed them into your blog. Fairly simple to do. It's just a copy and paste job. In terms of some of the other social sites like Digg, Spin, Reddit, any of those, you don't want to submit them yourself. And this is kind of it's an etiquette protocol thing. When you submit your own thing to Digg, people look at it as being self-promotional, and I've touched on that many, many times in this webinar. The whole self-promotion thing, people just really look down upon. So what you want to do is try to make contact with prominent people on Digg or on Spin or on Reddit or any of those other kind of voting sites that you're going to submit your content to, and ask them to submit them for you. Sometimes people will do it without you even having to ask, but if there's something you really think is valuable and you want to put it on Digg, you can just ask somebody that you know, maybe a friend or somebody that you have an association with, and then a lot of times you can even tell them that you'll return the favor for them if they have something that they want you to submit, and that way it's not self-promotional, and gives you that kind of little bit of a distance in terms of how people perceive it. And then there's lots of other social media sites, and so one of the strategies that you'll want to look at is really looking at what your demographic is and where they're hanging out, because for some of you it might be MySpace, it might not be Facebook. Blogs create not just traffic but links, and of course, since we do link building, and it's an important part of search engine ranking is building links to your website. I just wanted to talk a little bit about how your blog will build links to your website. Every comment that you leave on other blogs creates a link back to your blog, as long as you include the information that I talked about, your name, your email, and the URL of your site. So that's a great way to start building some links back to your blog. Linking to other blogs in a blog post. So let's say, for instance, you were going to write an article, and you find during the course of your research somebody's already written this really great article about the same topic on their blog. And so if you include a link to their post, what will end up happening is on their post at the very bottom, it'll have a trackback. And the trackback basically says, you know, hey, Ralph wrote a great article, and this is a little blurb about what he said, and he linked to this post from it. And then it also links back to your website. And so anybody that reads that article will see that you have also written something about that topic, and that can drive traffic to your site as well as providing a link back. Those links are often do follow. Even though most comments that you leave are no follow, a lot of the trackbacks that you see are actually do follow. Each trackback on a page of your blog is someone linking back to your blog. So you can start to see when you log into your blog, especially if you're using WordPress, it shows you all your trackbacks. So it shows you all the people that are linking back to you from other blogs. And it's a great way, again, to get involved, because if somebody linked to you that you don't really know about, you can go to their blog, read some of their articles, comment on it, drop them an email, tell them, hey, thanks for linking to our site. You start to develop that relationship with them. People naturally link to content that provides value, and so if you're really putting in time and investment into this, you'll start to see that links will start to happen without you having to buy them. And that's a really, really great thing. It's a very important thing. Some of the blog posts that we've written have generated up to 40 links for that particular page, and that's really an amazing amount for the time invested. Not every article does that. It's it's kind of a little bit of a gamble, but in general, people will you'll find that they'll just link to it because it's good, because they like it, and so you want to put that time into it. Also, comments. Each time somebody comments on your blog, it's going to ping the search engines to let them know that somebody just left a comment on this post, and so that's a good indication to the search engines that that topic is particularly hot or particularly important. People are really discussing it, and so you'll see that oftentimes blog posts that have hundreds of comments will rank very, very well for specific keywords, because the search engines are using that as an indication, as a marker for how well something could rank. And then, of course, long tail keywords. So long tail being very long phrases. Instead of just a single word like link building, it might be something like, how to build links for your floral shop or something like that. Very, very specific keyword. Might not drive a ton of traffic, but it allows you that opportunity to hit those really specific keywords with each of your articles. Somebody once told me, I can't show you how to drive hundreds of people to your website, but I can show you hundreds of ways to drive one person to your website. And that's what articles do. They give you that opportunity to drill into the really narrow niche where people are looking for something very specific. And when you provide that, generally, they're more sold on your services. The really high volume search traffic is not necessarily going to bring you the most business. And that's something that you'll want to really consider, is that you can drill into those keywords and you can find highly relevant pre-sold traffic and monetize on it by targeting those long-tail keywords. And of course, you want to try and measure your success. ROI is very hard to measure. It's not something that there's like a set formula for. So oftentimes people measure success of their blog by the number of visitors, the number of page views, the number of inbound links that are being created. You can check those out at Yahoo has a site explorer that allows you to look at all the inbound links that you have. The number of comments on a blog can be an indication of your success. The number of RSS subscribers, and of course the number of requests for information that come in off your blog pages could also be an indication. So all of those things, and you can kind of set that for yourself. Like if you have a particular goal, we want to increase our visitors, or we want to increase our page views, you can utilize those to measure how well you're doing in terms of your blogging. And we've talked about most of these, but I just wanted to tell them to you again. Biggest mistakes that people make when they're blogging: not enough content, inconsistent content, impersonal content, and content that's too lengthy or technical. So a lot of times people don't want to read those really, really long posts that go into great depth. People have short attention spans. Not reaching out to other bloggers and participating in the blogosphere, thinking that you're just going to post the blog and people are going to show up and comment is not very likely. So I want to really reach out to the bloggers. If you don't follow up on questions or comments on your blog, so if somebody comments and asks a question on your blog post, you want to be really quick to come back and answer that question. You don't want to leave it hanging there for a week or more, because people, again, just they lose the relevance of that question, and then they think that you don't care about them, and you don't want to give people that perception. Cannibalization of your keywords. So, big mistake using the same keywords for your corporate service pages as for your blog. Lack of internal linking, and we talked about that, basically linking to other pages of your website, your service pages, your monetization model pages off of your blog is very important. And having your blog on a separate URL is, I feel like, a very, very big mistake. You want to make sure that it's on the same URL with the same matching design as your other one, as your website. And then no distributions through social media. And make sure that you're, on Twitter or Facebook or MySpace or wherever it is that your potential clients or customers are hanging out. And these are just examples that I wanted to share with you in terms of what I feel are really well done blogs that just give you kind of an example of what you might model after. And you kind of see how they've laid them out and how they utilize their blogs in terms of what they're posting about to get an idea for what you want to do for your corporate blog. So we'll go ahead and open it up to some questions if you have any. You can just type them into the chat box there.
Yeah, we can't see your screen, but there should be a little area for you to click on questions and enter them if you have any. And Ralph, if I can just jump in for a minute, this is again Arnie from Vertical Measures. While we're waiting to see the questions come in, I did want to mention one thing that I'm not sure was hit upon as far as using your blog to drive traffic, but the titles are really critical. The titles of the posts. We actually spend minutes, maybe 10, 15 minutes discussing and re-looking at titles, not just so specifically for keywords and to make sure keywords are used properly for the title, but is it a title that's going to get some attention? Because as Ralph has already mentioned, the attention spans are short, and a great title that grabs people and pulls them in is going to be critical to getting them to actually read the content. And then if you can get them to read the content and start to comment, the title and the comments are two of the critical things to get specific blog posts ranked specifically in Google. And I do see a couple of questions, so let me see if I know how to do this. Is it stupid to put any ads on a blog?
I guess for me, the way I would address that is it depends on what your main goal is. If you're a corporation, you have a major business in an industry like we do, I would say ads on your blog are probably a bad idea. If it's a secondary blog that you're running for, like a smaller business that you're just looking to monetize on, you'll see a lot of blogs do have ads on them. And so it depends on what your attention is and what your business is. I would never put them on what I would consider a corporate blog because it makes it look kind of tacky. But you'll see it on many amateur and even some professional blogs that are looking to monetize. So if you're looking to try and make money off of your blog and that's one of your monetization models, certainly relevant. You could, a lot of people do affiliates and things like that that provide income for them when people purchase other services.
All right, another question. Are you saying to always have your blog as a subdomain of your website?
It wouldn't have to be a subdomain. Subdomains are typically something like blog.verticalmeasures.com. So it wouldn't necessarily have to be like that. It could be just, verticalmeasures.com/blog. Subdomains generally, what ends up happening with them for the search engines is subdomains are treated as like almost an entirely new site itself. And so I would probably actually discourage it unless you have a really good reason to use a subdomain, because otherwise it starts out with its own page ranking. It starts out from square one, just like the rest of your website. Whereas if you just use it as a, like verticalmeasures.com/blog, then it's actually part of your entire website.
All right, another question, and maybe I can answer this, but one is, how do I build links to my blog starting from scratch? I'm assuming your blog is probably new, and also the need to get links is obviously from scratch. Probably the easiest thing that Ralph covered was going off to other blogs and making intelligent, informative comments there, and then using the name field and the website field to add a link back to your blog. That gives you two benefits. One, it is the link back to your blog, and the other thing is it starts to engage other bloggers, other people reading those blogs, and it'll pull traffic to your blog and hopefully then pull comments.
Right.
That's probably one of the easiest ways to get started. And then, of course, there's a million other ways to get links. They all take work. Writing articles with links back to your blog or whatever it might be.
Right.
That's a separate subject.
One of the things.
Oh, yeah.
Sorry, one of the things that we didn't discuss, and I think is fairly important when you are leaving those comments, one of the things that we do is we include our first name and then just a dash and then our company name when we put in those blog comments. You'll find that a lot of times people try to use keywords for commenting, and sometimes it just depends on the blog that you're looking at. Some bloggers really look down upon that. They see it, again, as like too promotional, too self-promotional. So I would really try to kind of create a persona when you go out to discuss and comment on other blogs. Create that username, whatever it's going to be, along with the business, and utilize that instead of trying to use keywords right off the bat.
We have quite a few questions here, so I'm going to get through as many of these as we can.
Okay.
One question is, when you post a link to Twitter, do you just post the link? I'm not sure if I understand that question, but
whenever I post something to Twitter, I try to utilize. There's a lot of URL shorteners. Most of the time, when you post a link, it's going to shorten automatically. If you run it through something like Bitly, it's bit.ly. That's the actual URL. If you sign up for an account, you can track how many people are actually clicking on that link, and gives you a lot of analytics about how responsive people are to your tweets. And so that's one of the things I really like to do. You want to try and avoid. I personally I dislike any of the services like Owly that redirect using a frame. And so I would avoid those. And I'm sure you've seen them if you've clicked on links in Twitter. It opens in a frame instead of showing your actual website. It's got this frame around it that people can do all sorts of stuff with. So hope that answers the question. If it didn't, let us know.
All righty, then another one, do you recommend writing posts comparing yourself to your competitors? And my answer would be that's a pretty tricky one. If it appears as if it's totally self-serving, I would probably avoid it. I think there's ways to write articles or content that might drop hints about why you might be better than a competitor, but like a direct chart or direct reviews of you and 3 or 4 of your other competitors, that's going to be, I think, perceived as pretty self-serving. I probably would try other posts first.
Yeah, I would agree with that.
And here's another one that this is probably pretty typical. It says, our keywords are pretty basic. We are a Halloween costume company. We cannibalize this keyword like crazy. But how can we not? That's what we do. And I'm sure Halloween costume is the key phrase. And I would assume that would probably appear in many of your post titles. And that's really, when Ralph was talking about cannibalizing, it's mostly in the title. In the content, you're going to have a hard time not mentioning your keyword phrases. In fact, you probably should in every article you write and give yourself a link back to one of your internal pages. But you could write. I think there would be many other posts you can write without the word Halloween, for example. What's the hottest costumes for this fall, or whatever. And so I think ultimately, you can find ways to write a post and not use your money keyword phrase or your primary keyword phrases, but that is really something we see a lot, and we made those mistakes early on, 2 or 3 years ago when I was writing most of our blog posts. I'm all about keywords and links, and I made all the mistakes we told you not to make, and overdid it. And we've actually removed some of those posts because they're competing against our pages that we have that rank number 1, number 2 in the search results, and why split your link juice and your rankings in Google. All right, we have about
the other
3 or
thing you
4
could
more.
do. The other thing you could do with that too is try to focus on some really long tail keywords. So you could look at keying in on a post for just a very specific costume. So instead of doing Halloween costumes in general, you could do the best princess costumes, or werewolf costume that will scare everyone, that type of thing, so that you're really looking at keying in, again, not probably a huge amount of traffic, but if you did 30 posts that were specifically about just one type of costume, and maybe even if you have 3 different versions of it, you could probably get a fair amount of traffic from those, just because they're going to be long tail. And you'd want to do some research on what people were specifically searching for. But I would think that'd be a really good way to go, so that you don't cannibalize so much.
Yeah. And then we have 3 more. Excuse me, 3 more questions.
Okay.
One is, how narrow should you keep your blog topic? Does it make sense to focus exclusively on products and reviews, or is it better to round it out with news, lists, etc.? I'll let you take that one.
Yeah, that's a tough one. I guess it depends on if you think you're going to be too limited, because if you go too narrow and you don't have enough to talk about, then your blog ends up becoming a little dead. And so if you find that that's the case, then I would definitely broaden it out. For some
I would broaden it, but I would
work.
But I would definitely include things other than products and reviews. Definitely round it out with news, lists. It's amazing. If you belong to associations, you could just write a short post about an upcoming association event or a meeting, or if you attended a meeting, what was covered at the meeting. There's lots of ways to get things you can write about. And like Ralph mentioned, we basically have one person here who, it's a simple Word document, and she just keeps track of blog post ideas for us and starts to flesh them out over a period of time. And we'll all forward her different ideas, or I'll walk by her desk and we'll have a conversation. In fact, I think we had it yesterday, Ralph. We were talking about something, and all of a sudden we both said, that would make a really good blog post. So she brought up her Word document and just typed out, the concept. And if I had to guess right now, I'd say she's probably got 10 or 15 in the queue right now. And so if you have somebody like that that's also a central point at your company where you can just throw these ideas out and keep track, and sometimes 3 days later the idea doesn't sound so good, but that's a good way to just to build a list. Yeah. All right, we'll keep moving because we're now a little bit past our time. It says, I'm not sure if I follow this, but it says, I did not understand the commenting, and you said something about backtype.
Okay.
Maybe.
So backtype is a tool that you can use that basically helps you keep an ear to the industry that you're in. It's very similar to any search engine like Google. You type in a phrase and click submit, and it will actually pull back all the latest results. So for instance, if I typed in link building, it would pull up all the most recent link building articles that have been written, as well as the tweets that have been posted about that topic. And then from there, I can basically go and read them, comment on them, maybe even give me some ideas for content for writing blog posts. And so, and that's just a really important part of, promoting your blog, is by participating on those other sites, because that's what's going to really pull in traffic, and it's going to be what kind of puts you on the map in terms of having your blog out there.
All right, well, that person's sending me some more questions, and I know who you are. We'll contact him separately. How about that, just to clear it up? Okay. And also, just to let everybody know, everybody who was on the call, we are recording it. We will download it, turn it into a video, and send it out to everybody who participated. So you will have access to all of these slides. And I see we'll have to fix the typo I must have made on this very last page where we misspelled company. So do as we say, not as we do, right? All right, so this will be the last question. We have a new blog, so what's the most important thing to start getting traffic to your blog? I think I may have just mentioned that before you, or after you had already typed your question in, but I think titles are critical. I mentioned that. But the hardest thing about a new blog, and it's kind of like even webinars like this or any other, or radio, you launch a new radio station yesterday, and your DJs are putting music out, or it's talk radio or whatever it is, and you have no audience, but you've got to act like you have one. And that's the same thing with your blog. The day you launch your blog, you have 0 readers. Only the employees in your company, if you're lucky, will actually read your blog. And so you have to just write and keep going at it as if you do have an audience. And the audience, just like the movie, the audience will come. And it takes a while. I mean, our blog's been up for maybe 3 years, and I really don't know how many subscribers we have. I probably should look at that more often, but I'm sure it's over 1,000. And we're in a pretty niche market. But you just need to write it, and again, write. If you follow the tips that Ralph gave as far as writing interesting, informative, maybe even entertaining. You can even write funny blog posts, but just start writing it on a consistent basis. People will stumble across it. They'll find it. It'll show up in the search engines. And in fact, I don't know if you know this too, but now in Google's universal search results, they have a whole section at the bottom that are generally dedicated to blog posts. So once you start to get discovered and found by Google, sometimes your blog post, if it's got the right keywords in the title, will appear on the first page of the Google search results for maybe a 24 or 48-hour period. That will draw traffic, and that will draw followers. But the other thing to do is go out, we've probably beat this one to death, but go out to other blogs in your industry and leave those insightful, take your time, decent comments with a link back to you. People will read those, and they're going to say, oh, this guy seems, or this gal seems to know what she's talking about. I'm going to go check their blog out. And that's how it starts, and it's just a slow build.
If I could add just one thing, I just worked with a client that kind of went from 0 to blog, and what we actually did is we created about 5 content pieces that we went ahead and just launched like right off the bat, so that there was content there. Because if you're only writing, let's say 1 a week, it would take you an entire month to get up to just 4 blog posts. And so if you're launching your blog for the first time, you could go ahead and write, say 5 to 10 5 to 10 pieces that you're just going to go ahead and post right off the bat, so that when people do get there, there's already content. And then the other thing that you can do, I don't consider this too black hat. You could just ask friends to read it and comment on it, friends and family, so that again it looks like there's a little more activity there. You could even have employees comment on some of the articles. I know that there's quite a few people that actually do that, and it makes it very compelling. You've got if you've got 50 staff members in your company, have them all participate. Have them leave in comments and have them start the conversation.
And I wouldn't consider that too black hat at all, actually. The conversation started.
Yeah.
Alrighty, well that's all the time. We're 8 minutes past the time that we promised you all, and I appreciate everybody participating. As I mentioned, we have recorded it. We'll download it. It normally takes us about 2 or 3 days to get these done and email them out to everybody. We appreciate your time.
If you do have
Yes,
additional questions, you can contact us at any of that information there, and we'd be glad to follow up with you.
Alrighty, thanks everybody.
Thanks a lot.